welcome to Man Guide Rovers Game Week 11 already. Wow. We're going to go through our predictions for this weekend. Lots to get through, lots of really tasty games. I'm joined again with Phil and Nathan. How you both doing? You both good?
Hello.
Very good, thank you.
Very well, thank you.
Glad you both well. Well, we've got an early back to an early kick-off. We've got Spurs hosting Man United. Nathan, why don't you take us through your prediction for this one?
Ooh, Spurs and Man United, two inconsistent teams that will win one game and then lose the next or draw. So, what do we think is going to happen? I think it's a good game for the neutrals, isn't it, for 12:30. I think obviously Spurs coming back off that disappointing result to Chelsea will want to see a reaction. Man United sort of being 1-0 up at Forest and then drawing 2-2. Is it great? I am going to predict a win for Spurs. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Spurs win.
Phil, where do you see this one going?
Well, it could be anywhere, couldn't it? I mean, it's shit and shitter here. I mean, two solid mid-table clubs fighting out a mid-table rivalry. But it's an interesting battle, isn't it? Spurs are absolutely appalling at home. But they're coming off the back of a cracking result in Europe, which hopefully might get a little bit for them, from their perspective, getting a bit of momentum coming back into the Premier League. Man United, who've looked better away from home, and obviously had a little bit of momentum. Well, certainly in terms of resting defeats, they've got a little momentum coming into this game, and they've had a week with their feet up and resting because they didn't make Europe. So it could be anything, couldn't it? Because the Spurs defence is so Jekyll and Hyde, the Man United attack is so Jekyll and Hyde. But I am going to let my Arsenal loyalty show, and I'm going to predict a Manchester United win. But I think that neither team can defend for toffee, so I think I'm going to go Manchester United 3, Spurs 2.
It goes expected from you then, Nathan.
Just said I think it's going to be 1-1.
Oh, sorry.
1-0. Sorry, 1-0 to Spurs.
Yeah, sorry, I lost track then. I got my order wrong. Sorry.
Your prediction, Sean. What are you predicting?
I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win.
Ooh, 2 Spurs wins from you two, crikey.
Yeah,
it's just that sort of game, isn't it? It wouldn't surprise me if Spurs just put a result in and.
Yeah, it's something like that. But Man U don't do well down at Spurs, do they? Typically,
Spurs don't do well at Spurs either.
No, not this season. I could just, yeah. I think a little bit like what you said previously about Chelsea. Like, I think Spurs will get themselves up for this one. I think they'll make it difficult. I'll probably be really wrong, but yeah, I think Spurs will just win 2-1. I think there will be plenty of goals, like you say. So yeah, I was going to go on the fence, but you see Spurs get another win. We'll then go to the 3 o'clocks. We've got Everton at home to Fulham. Phil?
Yeah, I'll be honest, this has kind of got flipping dull score draw written all over it, if I'm honest. I think Everton don't look particularly prolific in attack at the minute, but they've been very difficult to beat at the new stadium, whose name I still can't remember.
Dickinson Stadium.
Thank you. There we go. So they've looked very difficult to beat there.
Just rolls off the team, doesn't it?
Spurs did it the other week, didn't they? And looked good doing it. And Fulham, we've said before, they've put in performances this season, but not necessarily the results off the back of it. So I just think this has got a bit of a dull score draw written all over it, to be honest. So I'm going to go Everton 1, Fulham 1.
I'm going to go 2 apiece on this one, I think.
Desmond.
Yeah, go for a good old Desmond. Nathan, what do you think?
So, obviously, you had Everton drawing against Sunderland. I think they were really good value first half, wasn't they? And then you've obviously got Fulham that are on the back of that result against Wolves. But I'll be honest, they needed that result, and it was easy, wasn't it, for them? Fulham don't travel well, do they? They're not a great team away. Decent at home. So I'm going to go for it. I don't think it's going to be like a free scoring game. I'm with Phil. I think it's like a low scoring game. I'm going to go for Everton to pinch it 1-0.
I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be really close, to be fair. We've got West Ham at home to Burnley now. This is a 6-pointer if I've ever seen one this early in the season. Fucking hell. So where do you see this one, Phil?
Yeah, it really is an interesting one, isn't it? Burnley have looked far more likely to take the result from how they've both started the season. But there's some real shoots of positivity around West Ham. I think in that last performance against Newcastle, they've still got good players there. It's just whether, and it looks like Nuno's starting to get a little bit of motivation in there. Burnley have looked far more solid at home than they have on their travels. There's a little bit of naivety shown so far that I think maybe West Ham could exploit. So I think that West Ham take that result 2-1.
Nathan?
Yeah, so obviously West Ham coming off that result against your boys, they'll be going into full of confidence. And I think if you're looking at a team to play while after you beat Newcastle, looking at Burnley, they obviously got turned over quite comfortably against Arsenal. And I think, if West Ham get the result, it sort of gives them a bit more confidence. If Burnley lose this game, it sort of drags them into that relegation sort of battle, which we thought that they were going to be in. I don't think we've said this all along with the with the promoted teams that the home form's key. So it's going away to teams and trying not to get beat. Pick up a draw. A win's even better. A couple of weeks ago, I probably would have predicted a Burnley win, but obviously on the back of that West Ham sort of say, I'm going for West Ham to win 2-1.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 West Ham win, I think, on that one. Burnley are travelling well. West Ham looked a lot better against us, to be fair. They played really well. Sorry, I've got a cat stick to me. They look. Nuno looks like he's finally got a bit of a grasp on that team now. He looks like he's finally managed to get his influence across, and they played well. So I'm going to give West Ham a 2-0 win. Burnley. I think it's going to be a long season for Burnley. Yeah, 2-0 West Ham. Sunderland host Arsenal. Phil, obviously you're going to go for an Arsenal win, but by what score?
Yeah, well, I think got to. I think there's a few injury worries at the minute, and obviously, it's always a big game coming to the biggest team in the Northeast, isn't it? It's a tough trip up there to face a properly good team in the Northeast. So it's going to be a challenging one, and obviously our old boy Granite's up there, isn't he? Like as a one-man army, he's got his Sunderland team organised and playing like a trooper. But yeah, I'm never going to go against my boys, am I? Particularly not when they're claiming clean sheets for fun, and I can't see any reason why I wouldn't be claiming a clean sheet this week as well. So I think injuries or not, I don't think Sunderland have got enough to stop us scoring. So I think we are looking at another professional performance from Arsenal like last weekend. I think another Arsenal 2-0 win, and it'll be comfortable enough, I hope.
Yeah, I'm going to join you on that. I'm also going to go 2-0 Arsenal. You can't not really at the minute. It seems to be 2-0 every week. Nathan, what do you think? You got a change?
I think this is going to be a difficult game for Arsenal in terms of obviously Sunderland are full of confidence, aren't they? They were unlucky not to sort of get the result against Everton. They're flying high in the table. They've got the confidence up. I think they'll be looking at that game where they're thinking, it's a free hit. I think so. They've got nothing to lose. Xhaka he'll have a point to prove. He'll want to put a performance in against his old club. Still think Arsenal's far too strong. We said that the only thing it would be is obviously Gyökeres, I believe, probably will be injured for this game. Phil, correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so.
So I don't think that Arsenal steamrolling them, but I also think Arsenal are professional enough to get the game won and not concede. So I'm going to go for, not a nervy, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Arsenal.
I was going to go 2-1. Because I think that 4 points is good.
It might be we count shots on goal.
They just don't look like conceding, do they?
No, they really don't.
Your defense is sort of if your defense is solid with your goalkeeper, that to me that's half the battle, isn't it, of winning the title? If you've got a solid defense, and Arsenal just don't look like they're conceding any goals, they just look.
It's starting to feel a bit like, you remember, I know they're trying to emulate them, and I think, to be honest, a number of the Arsenal players would be happier to try and take that Chelsea record of least goals conceded than they would to win the title, to be honest. But I think it's getting to the point where it's a little bit like the set piece. I think it's starting to get in people's heads. Do you know what I mean? It does feel. It certainly, you listen to the comment. It feels like an event when someone gets a shot on goal against Arsenal. Forget goals; people are happy just to get a shot on goal. Like it's starting to get into people's psyches, and that's
and it's a battle, is it, for the defender?
passion
Because
built.
like a clean sheet for a goalkeeper and defenders is as good as scoring a goal for a striker, and they will have that. Where it's like it's when you've got that momentum with you that you're not conceding, you're going to go into it every week believing that you're not going to concede, and like you feel like you're invincible. And if from an Arsenal perspective, you look in that, and that that's breeding so much confidence up the rest of the pitch, because you know that you've got such a solid line at the back. You know that if any decent strikers coming away and they're going to get a sniff at goal, it's getting blocked out. So it's really good to see from an Arsenal perspective as that back four or five, if you class it with Raya, they just don't look like anything's going to go past them. But
All
I
good
don't.
runs that come to an end.
It will eventually, because I think, what did you say the Chelsea one? Nothing, was it 15 goals they conceded one
15
season?
goals in the season
Yeah.
they did. Yeah.
I mean that's
the record.
phenomenal, isn't it? That's 15 goals.
All seasons, ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Although we are on course to break it, because clearly we're a quarter of the way into the season, we only conceded 3.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, and that's the thing. Is the Arsenal back five looking at going, we can better that. Records are meant to be broken. Can we do one better than that and concede 14, concede 10, whatever it is? So it's been anything special to break this Arsenal defence. I don't think Sunderland have enough to do that.
No, interesting. I'd love to see Grant Xhaka score a goal though. Against
Do you know
Arsenal.
what? For all the shots on target, and I'd be quite happy if Xhaka scores as well, as long as Arsenal win 4-1.
So we've both gone 2-0, and Nathan, you've gone 1-0. We've got it's going to be a bit of a talking point. Chelsea host a really woeful Wolves. Quite a bit of disarray. Managerless Wolves travels to Chelsea. Chelsea inconsistent. Phil, what do you think?
Chelsea inconsistent, but at the minute I think the 3 of us could beat Wolves. So I mean, I'm not holding out any hope for Wolves on the road at all. We've got whatever happens, there's going to be a makeshift manager in place, if any manager at all in place. They're a team that are in complete disarray. They've got absolutely no organisation going into that. Chelsea might well be a Jekyll-and-Hyde team, but if they lose that, then you know what? Todd Bowley might as well sell them all now and just forget them off. They should walk that match at Stamford Bridge, and if not, then the players should pay the fans their money back, because that result is only going one way, and it's a question of how many. Do they get to a rugby score, or do they just get bored and stop scoring? I just think they're going to absolutely savage them if they want to. So we could be in for some fireworks. It's that time of year, isn't it? To be fair, you'd expect fireworks. So I think let's go conservative, because I think Chelsea will get bored and maybe not try the best. So I think Chelsea 3, Wolves 0.
Nathan, how do you see this one?
With Phil on most of the points he said, to be fair, I think Wolves are just absolute. That trying to swear too much, they're just an absolute shit show at the minute. They're an embarrassment in the league. As a Villa fan and the Midlands banter, it's quite nice to see. But from a Wolves perspective, you must be, you've just been turned over comfortably by Fulham, and then you think, does it get much worse in a trip to Stamford Bridge? Arguably, Chelsea have a much better team than Fulham. I think obviously now the manager's gone for Wolves, maybe you might see some sort of more spirited performances, because you tend to see that, don't you, once the manager's been sacked and they're playing with the assistant manager or the reserve team manager. It's like the shackles not are off, but there's sort of a bit more freedom. But I still don't think that gets Wolves any sort of result. I would be amazed if I'm sat here next week and Wolves have got anything out of that game, which I don't think that they will. I'm going to go for a very, very easy Chelsea 4-0 win.
3-4. Yeah, I was going to go 4-0 Wolves. 4-0 Wolves. 4-0 Chelsea as well, to be fair. Just shocking, isn't it, for Wolves? It must be devastating. You must be devastated if you're a Wolves fan. I know my dad's a Wolves fan. It's
maybe
hard work.
maybe a new manager going to be in charge for Saturday. We don't know at this point. Obviously, who's been linked with the hot seat at Wolves. It seems like now they've turned their attention to the Middlesbrough manager, Rob Edwards. So maybe even with him in, I don't think it's going to make a blind bit of difference.
I think Rob Edwards is doing a fantastic job at Middlesbrough. close to close to promotion last year. I don't know if he'd want to leave there.
A team that ain't won in 10 games.
Yeah, he is under a bit of pressure to be fair, but jump into a club where the ownership's just unravelling the way it is. It's probably not a great move for him, to be fair.
And that's the thing. It's like, I know football league management is completely different to our day jobs that we do, but you'd be looking at that going, if I'm taking that job on, it's on the basis of the fact that I'm rebuilding for the championship next season. That's the only reason you're taking that Wolves job, in my opinion.
Well, I guess we'll see, but yeah, we all expect Chelsea to hammer Wolves, to be fair. Well, let's move on to Sunday's games anyway. There's some really interesting ones again, and we start with your boys, Nathan Villa. You host high-flying Bournemouth off the back of a loss to Liverpool and Bournemouth losing to Man City. Take us through it. What do you think?
Yeah, so last season we played pretty poor against Bournemouth, managed to scrape a goal with Ross Barkley, and then Evan Nixon equalised in the 94th minute. I hope we don't see that. I'm looking for a reaction from sort of last week, and I think we'll get one. We were incredibly poor against Liverpool. We basically just let Liverpool. They didn't need to turn up. We made it easy for them to get the result. Helped by a massive favour from Emi Martinez. So it's going to be a tough game because at the minute the table doesn't lie. Bournemouth are ahead of us, so they're playing well. I know they got turned over by Man City. We're still in decent form. We won the last 4 out of 5, so I'm expecting us to see a reaction. I think it's going to be very tight. I don't think it's going to be a free flowing game. Obviously my claret and blue tinted glasses. I'm gonna predict a 2-0 win for Villa.
Phil.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree. I think it's a game that may well swing on kind of mastery in the dugout, to be honest. And I'll be honest, and I said to you that on Monday's or Tuesday's show, I think Emery was a bit short against Liverpool, and I think at the minute Areola probably will outthink Emery when it comes to this match. And I think Bournemouth, despite the loss to Man City, will probably come in more confident. Sorry, I should say they can get a result away at Villa. Particularly with like you said on Tuesday's show, Nate, some of the performances from the Villa front line at the minute, I think Bournemouth will feel they can probably manage Villa's threat. And I think they'll probably feel they can get through. One thing I hadn't asked about actually was I know Mings limped off at the weekend, didn't he? Is he out or is he back?
Yeah, he's done. There's I think the minimum of 6 weeks, and
he's been playing, hasn't he? So you got a disruption to the back line.
Yeah, he's been playing in parts. Like I've no doubt in my mind that he probably would have played the Thursday game against Maccabi Tel Aviv, because that's what he tends to have done. He sort of rotates, but his main sort of centre back choice in at the minute is Konsa and Pau Torres.
But he started Mings against Liverpool, didn't he? That's why.
No, we come on as a sub, did Mings, and then he got subbed off. Yeah, well, so we made. In fact, I think it got to the point where we made all our subs as well. So we played some of the back end of the game with 10 men. Right. So it went off. So it's an hamstring injury, so it depends on the extent. But the problem I have with Tyrone Mings is, whilst I think he's been a decent servant for Villa, I don't think he's the answer. I don't think, and I also he's injury prone. Like he's forever picking up niggles. He just doesn't get that consistent run in the team. So also consistent sort of time where he's injury free.
So it may not matter. But I just think Bournemouth are very organised, and I think I don't know. Like I say, I think probably Villa's mentality probably takes a bigger nudge from last weekend's results than Bournemouth does, really. Because I think Villa went to Anfield thinking they could compete, whereas I think Bournemouth maybe would have assumed too strong for them. So it's just my take. It's my take.
I get it.
I think I'm going to say I think maybe. Yeah. Do you know what? Maybe Bournemouth edge it. So Villa 1, Bournemouth 2.
2-1. I'm going to go for the old Desmond on this one. I think it'll be a high-scoring draw. So I think Bournemouth will come back with a bit more confidence. Like I said, what you've touched on there, Phil, is a bit of a free hit for them for against City. I thought last week, didn't play too badly, just outclassed by a better team in City. And yeah, Villa pretty similar. They pretty poor against Liverpool, but it's not a result you'd expect to win, I suppose, at this stage, is it? So yeah, I'm going to go for the 2-2 Desmond. And then I'm going to go for a 2-1 Newcastle win away at Brentford, which is probably really optimistic to say we've not won away all season or for the last 5 months. I just really hope.
I think this is a really tough game for Newcastle. I think obviously if you drag it, you've dragged in the performance of obviously last week and where he wasn't brilliant, and you got turned over by, and you said yourself, deserved West Ham win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bournemouth isn't, you've only got to look at Liverpool went there a couple of weeks back and got turned over. The long ball tactics that are sort of creeping back into the game. Will they do that and try and disrupt? But I think this is a very, very tough game for Newcastle. If I'm being completely honest, do you think that you can go there and put in a better performance than what he did against West Ham, Sean?
Yeah, we can't be any worse than what we played against West Ham. We really can't. That's the worst performance I've seen for over 12 months. That against West Ham, shocking performance. Obviously we play Wednesday night, Champions League. Another tough test. So I've touched on it before. It's about Eddie Howe getting that rotation right, bringing the right player at the right time for the right job. So yeah, he's got to turn it round, and I think an away win at Brentford will hopefully be the catalyst to our season again, rather than having these little fits and sticks where we have a good win at home and then we're shit away. Let's face it, really poor away this season. We used to travel well and bully people, now we don't. It's just, yeah, need some change. But yeah, I do think we'll get a 2-1 win. Phil?
Yeah, I wanna buy into your Newcastle optimism. I do.
Sunglasses.
I'm struggling because I think Brentford, they're obviously at home, really organised. I think, like you say, Newcastle a little bit gun shy on the road. I think they'll find it challenging, to be honest, on Sunday. And as we said on Tuesday, they didn't look convincing against West Ham for whatever the reason was. They've got a reasonably straightforward game in Europe this week. So maybe that gets them back on track. But I just think Brentford make it really, really difficult for them. I'm going to go with a Brentford 1, Newcastle 1. I think it's going to be a draw.
Nathan, would you see this one going?
I'm with Phil. I'm not sure I share your optimism.
Told you it's them.
No, I get it. Look, I think, can you be any worse than what you played at West Ham? Probably not. But Brentford are a decent team at home. I mean, in terms of where they are in the table now, they're literally one place above you, aren't they? So it wouldn't surprise me if either team could win. I know that's obviously not giving you a prediction. It wouldn't surprise me if Brentford win, and it wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle win. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Brentford win.
1-0. I think we'll score. I mean, yeah, it's just, it is going to be a tough game, to be fair. It really is going to be tinted glasses, like I say, guys. Obviously on. Yeah, moving on from that, we've got Palace host Brighton. Now, this is a tasty one at 2:00 on Sunday.
Well, this is meant to be a derby. Well, not a derby, but this is a rivalry that isn't a rivalry. Or Palace fans and Brighton fans will be able to tell me the reason why it's such an important game, why either one needs to win. So
what's your prediction for that one then, Nathan? You may as well take us through that one.
Ooh, Palace had both teams won, didn't they, on the last week? So you're looking at this, again, two teams that are literally 9th and 10th in the table. Very consistent in the forms where they've won a game, lost a game, or drawn a game. So I do think Palace are a very good team at home. Brighton are good at home, but obviously away they're not so great. So I'm probably going to lean towards a Palace win. I'm going to go with Palace 2, Brighton 1.
Phil?
Oh, he's killing me. He's nicked my result. But yeah, I agree with what Nathan said. I think what I touched on Tuesday. I think Brighton have been super consistent this season in terms of how they've performed. I think the differential in all their games, whether win or loss, has been how the opposition have played. And I think Palace are more organised, more structured. Guehi looks like an absolute monster this season. I think Mateta, he got his goal last weekend, and he always looks dangerous, and he's a big unit to stop, isn't he? Danny Welbeck looks like he's on fire from a Brighton point of view, and they do look like they've got goals in them. But I just think that Palace are more organised than most, and I think what Brighton have struggled against this season is when they come up against the more organised defences. So I am unashamedly going to match my colleague and say Crystal Palace 2, Brighton 1.
Okay, well, I'm going to go 2-0 Palace then.
Backing against Danny Welbeck, how dare you?
Yeah, I know. But I've got there's a bit of a gap opening up in that table, so I need to try collect 4 points somewhere, and that looks like a good shot this weekend. So yeah, guess we'll see where it goes. Both teams playing well. Danny Welbeck's having a great season. We spoke about this last week as well. Tuchel's spoke to him apparently, so we'll probably see him. If he scores this weekend, there's no doubt we'll see him in an England setup for the
I
next
think from
international
that
break.
perspective, though, I know this isn't England chat, but we've said before, do we think Danny Welbeck should be in the England team? Everyone's like sort of saying no, but like if you're going like in the form guide, out of the English strikers, he's one of the most informed English strikers. So sometimes we always said, didn't you, if whilst ever you're playing good, you're in the team. So
That's what we
that's
like
sort
about
of
Tuchel, isn't it?
yeah.
Tuchel said that
So
he will pick
if
players based on the
if
form.
he does get in the squad, then you have to say he's deserved it because of how he's performed for the last few weeks. Because he's putting some of the younger strikers to shame. A 34-year-old, he's was it 6 in 8 games or something like that. So it's not. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if he's on target again. At the weekend. So he's playing well. While ever you're playing well, you've got that belief that you can carry on scoring. So yeah, fair play to him.
We've got the last 2 o'clock kick off on Sundays. Forest at home to Leeds, another tight one. I think it's going to be tight anyway. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Forest win on this one. I just don't think Leeds will have enough. And I got that in first because I'm pretty sure you guys have got a very similar idea of scoreline for that one, maybe. Phil, what do you reckon?
I'm going to say not us guys. Nathan's under family pressure. He's getting he's getting disowned every week by brother-in-law back against Leeds. He's got his arm up behind his back like the West Yorkshire Mafia. But no, it's I think Dyche looks like he's got some organisation into Forest. I think Leeds. Nathan touched it on Tuesday. They've not been efficient in front of goal. They're playing really well in patches, but they need to get that knit together in 90 minutes of form. You talked about Burnley, West Ham being a 6-pointer, but I think this is a 6-pointer as well at the minute. Forest is trying to close that gap from being cut adrift. Leeds would love to put some daylight between themselves and the bottom 3. It's a big match going into international break, but I am torn. I'm going to go with a Forest. Proper torn. Forest 1, Leeds 1. We'll go with a draw.
Nathan, what are your thoughts?
Oh, so yeah, you've seen a better performance from Forest, didn't you? Against obviously Man United, they'd go 1-0 down and then score 2 quick-fire goals. I think you're disappointed if when you score 2 quick-fire goals and then obviously Man United come back. Leeds just got beat by the better team in Brighton, didn't they? They were okay in patches. For the possession that they had, they just don't seem like they've. Up front, I don't think Calvert-Lewin is the player he once was. He's okay. He can win an header, but for me, he's not that guy who's getting you 15 goals a season, which is what you'd be looking at for a sort of an experienced striker like Calvert-Lewin. He just isn't there. He just doesn't have it in him. I think Leeds at the minute, it's their home form for me, where I think that that they make it like a cauldron of noise. Yeah, and I think that they go into the away games. Look, it's one of them. It's like, let's not get beat. Let's try and pinch a draw. Win's brilliant. I don't see Leeds getting a result here. I think Forest will have a little bit too much for them. But obviously, Forest playing in Europe on Thursday, then maybe that might have a little bit of sort of reflection. But I'm going to go for a Forest 1-0 win.
Interesting. Guess we'll see. We'll obviously discuss them results on Monday or Tuesday next week. But there is the big prospect of Man City at home to Liverpool. A huge match. Both teams obviously want to win this because obviously the gap between them and Arsenal. Don't want to see that getting bigger, do they? Nathan, any thoughts on this one? Where do you just want this one to go?
So this on paper should be an absolute humdinger, shouldn't it? The main event of the evening, as they would say in boxing. So what you've got is you've got Man City with an absolute phenomenal striker in Erling Haaland. That literally, he only needs half a chance and he will take it. Liverpool come back off that sort of really poor run and got themselves back on track against Villa, which obviously I'm not happy about. They still look shaky, don't they, in parts? I think, how do Van Dijk and Konate handle Erling Haaland? I think what you've got to look at is that sort of the week before, like an Ezri Konsa who kept Haaland quiet. That's, look at that, just sort of not allowing him to play his game and limiting his chances, which I think what we did very well. And I think Liverpool will have to try and do that. But I don't think Liverpool have that. Liverpool are just attack, aren't they? That sort of team. But then on the other end, you've got Man City. I don't think it's great defensively. So this is why I think there's going to be goals in this. I don't see it being 0-0 or anything boring. I think we're going to see goals. So I am going to go for a very, very mad one. This might come back to haunt me, but I'm going to go for a 3-3 draw.
Wow, it's gone big.
It's big. It's big.
And a draw would be better for you, Phil, because obviously you don't want either team to start to be 2 points closer to you. You just, if it's only one, someone's got, you don't want any of them to lose. You want them both to lose, really, don't you?
I want a draw. All ends up, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. So it won't be too bad if it has that. I might put 50 pence on it on Sky Bet as well. 3-3, see what we get.
Phil, what are you going for? Where do you see this one going? And
yeah,
how does it affect Arsenal?
I am torn because obviously my heart wants to draw. It's going to be an interesting game. I think with looking at how I know it was 1-0 on Tuesday, but looking at how Liverpool dismantled Real Madrid and dealt with Real Madrid's threat relatively easily. They looked impressive and off the back of an impressive win against Villa the weekend before. I think Man City though have far more attacking intent than Madrid. Madrid were definitely struggling tonight. It was interesting seeing tonight. It was interesting seeing how Mbappe just bounced off the centre backs and didn't really have any great deal of penetration through the middle. But Haaland is the polar opposite of that. Although Haaland has in the past struggled against Van Dijk and big centre backs like Saliba and Gabriel. Sometimes he can struggle. He's looking unstoppable this season. So I'm not sure it's going to be enough because Van Dijk's looking ordinary this season. So. I think that Liverpool's defenders will be forced to defend far more against City than they have against other teams in recent weeks. Although it'll be interesting how Pep approached it, because obviously he went and parked the bus against Arsenal. So will he actually be so expansive against Liverpool when they are looking so dangerous? It's going to be really close, and genuinely anything could happen. They could both cancel each other out. Haaland could have a worldie and score a hat-trick. Liverpool could, as a team, have an unbelievable performance and shut down Man City like Arsenal did. Anything could happen. But I am going to go with my... I've got to back what I want to happen. I want the draw. Obviously it's far, far better result from an Arsenal point of view, so I desperately want the draw. So I'm going to go for the draw. I'm not quite as expansive as our Nathan there with his 3-3, but I do think there'll be goals because I don't think either team has a very good defence. So I'm going to go slightly more conservative, and I'm going to go 2-2.
Oh, the old Desmond. Snap up my prediction.
Pray for rain.
Yeah, you're obviously right. It could be one of them games, could end up 0-0. We've seen it before where we've had a massive game that we've all expected to be an absolute thriller, and it's not happened. Between these two teams as well, to be fair, we've seen it happen. I was going to go for a draw, but I've got to try to score some points and lower this gap. So I'm going to go for a City win. I'm going to go City 2, Liverpool 1.
I did wonder if you could bring yourself to back Isak. Well, this could be the Derby. This could be the Ferrari versus the fraud, couldn't it? Because let's face it, any Wally who was trying to tell you that Isak's the best striker in the world obviously never heard of Erling Haaland. He's the real deal, and Isak is very much not. So
Isak's out, I believe, with a hip injury now for about 4 or 5 weeks. So I don't think we'll see.
Hiding is what I heard you said. They're hiding from the reality of his transfer fee.
Yeah. So it'll be. I don't think we'll see much of Isak this year in terms of. He's going to take him. But next year, when we see Isak doing anything,
don't worry, you certainly won't see much of him on the streets of Newcastle.
I don't have to worry about that.
He won't be there anytime soon.
Yeah, but there's some really interesting games this week. I mean, obviously the highlight is probably the Man City Liverpool game. Sky Sports 4:30. But across the board, Saturday and Sunday, there's some really good ties.
Well, as it was pointed out on, let me just double check my information before I make a lie. Yeah, as it was pointed out on Monday Night Football, it's like Super Weekend, isn't it? All the top 4 play each other. Bear in mind, Sunderland are 4th, and it's Arsenal, Sunderland, and it's Liverpool, Man City. The top 4 are in action against the top 4. Champions League teams versus Champions League teams elect.
But I think the interesting one for me now is obviously it's the last one before the international break, the last one of the year. Thank God for that. But you don't want it. You for some teams, the international break can't come quick enough. But for some teams, you don't want the international break to get in the way. But I think you want to go in it full of confidence and sign off with the win, don't you? If you're any team. So
it's a long 2 weeks if you lose, isn't it? It's a long 2 weeks if you've lost.
It is, and you're looking at, and then with the international break as well as then is you don't want your top players coming back injured after 2 weeks, do you? That's
especially if you're on shit form, yeah.
But especially we get into December then, don't we? We're starting to get into like territory where you're playing games that come thick and fast, don't they? Sort of over the festive period, and you want your players fit for that, because otherwise the festive period for me is when you're in that title race. Is like when games, it's grinding out results, and you need to do that with a fully fit squad. So that's going to be the interesting one as well for the international break.
Yeah, well, I don't like international breaks, to be fair. Yeah, I think anyone does these days. But
Think positive. Newcastle can't drop points in international break.
It certainly can't. Maybe I'll start getting behind the international breaks and start. Come on, can't wait. But no, not for me. Get back to the proper stuff. But yeah, well, excuse me. Yeah, guys, if you wanna send your predictions and put them in the comments, and get involved.
See if you can do better than me.
See if you can do better than any of us. To be fair, if you outscore us, we'll give you a shout. We'll let you know if you do beat us. So feel free to partake. But I think that's everything covered from this weekend's fixtures. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Obviously, Nathan, Phil, thank you very much for joining. As always, appreciate it. And good night from us, Spring. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.